Right now on Denver 7 News at 6, it's news no parent wants to hear. Their child's school is closing.
This is going to be incredibly difficult. There's absolutely no joy at all in us bringing forward this recommendation.
I'm Veronica Acosta in Golden. Jeffco parents will find out right here if their students' classrooms are closing, what led up to these tough decisions, and what's next.
Water providers across the metro doing their part to save the Colorado River. The actions they're promising to take as the water source for the West reaches dangerously low levels.
And summer is winding down, so it's time to get your winter gear. There's a big sale coming soon to get you ready for the slopes.
Plus, she already mastered solving Rubik's Cubes here on Earth. Now a Colorado aerospace engineer is taking her skills to new heights.
This is my dream!
So how did she line up all those colors in zero gravity? Oh my gosh.
That makes me
That is
dizzy.
so fun.
Wow.
That would be so fun.
I've never
Fun.
solved
Yes.
a Rubik's Cube in my life.
I have never.
Without the Rubik's Cubes, but flying around like that, weightlessness.
We even have some that are like only like 2 squares on
yeah.
each side. I can't even get
solve
those.
that.
I always dismantle them and then reassemble.
Yeah, let alone in zero gravity. Wow, Lisa, you've flown before. Would you solve a Rubik's Cube up there in zero G's?
No, yeah, doing both on either side is crazy. I'm really good at peeling the stickers off on the Rubik's Cube and then realigning them. I've gotten really good at that where no one can tell. We've got a beautiful start to our day back down here on Earth. We're looking at sunshine from our Viera wireless camera out east there in Lyman. It's a pretty start to our day. You're going to find sunny skies early on, temperatures that are going to climb here pretty fast. Yesterday we were hitting highs near 90 degrees and today a similar situation. The difference today is there will be a better chance for a few thunderstorms in the afternoon. So take a look at our bus stop forecast. We'll be at right around 60, 65 degrees here early this morning, getting into the low to mid 80s by the time your kids get home. Isolated thunderstorms possible today, both today and tomorrow. We're going to see that chance of storms. 88 in Denver, 76 in Greeley, 72 in Estes Park, but it will cool off faster with some scattered storms. And we'll take a closer look at our statewide futurecast. And Jason, where we're going to get some heavier rain here coming up in just a few minutes.
And right now, the overall drive looks pretty good, but I want to take you just a moment ago to Air Tracker 7, where they were right over 72nd and Sheridan. And you can see that we did have some light issues for us here. That would be the westbound side coming from around Highway 36 or Federal, trying to get through here. And you can see that it looks like one lane is open, a couple lanes are closed down. So some minor restrictions here, but if you see the flashing lights over there, that's what's going on this morning. Look at the drive here on I-76. You could already start to see some of the increased traffic getting past 270 over to I-25. 270 is getting busier here for us this morning. So on the overall map, that's where you're seeing a lot of the yellow showing up on 270 and here on I-76. So a very typical start for us here this morning. We will see a closure of I-70 this weekend over there on that east side of town. I'll have full details of that for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Jason. Well, today is the day Jefferson County parents will find out if their child's school is on the list for closure. The district will reveal recommendations for elementary schools to either close or consolidate because of low enrollment.
Yeah, and we know today is going to be a very emotional day. Those of us with elementary age kids, we know those schools are such a big part of our lives, not just school, but outside of school. Weekends we spend there.
Yeah, friend groups.
Friend groups, exactly. So let's bring in Denver 7's Veronica Acosta. She's live in Golden where the board will meet tonight. And Veronica, the district says these smaller schools just aren't able to provide a quality experience anymore.
That is exactly it. And this is actually the spot where parents will get the news that they've probably been expecting, but really no mom or dad, like you two just mentioned, want to hear something like this. The reality is Jeffco has building space for 96,000 students, but right now only about 69,000 students are taking up that space. And really, that's because of declining enrollment. It's been happening for more than 20 years now, since 2001. And that's because of things like declining birth rate. You know, people are just opting to move to different parts of town, maybe different states, because of living costs. And then there's the pandemic as well. And now officials are telling us it is getting tougher to not make these decisions. Just so you guys all get a better perspective of this, we know that there are 49 Jeffco elementary schools that have less than 250 students. They're also could be utilizing less than 60% of their building right now. But choosing which schools to recommend for closure was about more than just those numbers. The district chief of strategy told us it's like figuring out a really tough puzzle that just no one wants to solve.
We come into this process believing that nobody wants their schools to close. We don't want schools to close. But unfortunately, we're just in a position with our enrollment and our resources where we can no longer just keep every school open.
And it's really important to add for all of those Jeffco parents watching this morning that if your student's school is chosen to close, just know that elementary schools, they aren't too far from each other with the exception of Conifer and Evergreen. They tend to on average only be about 1.3 miles away from one another. So that's kind of some good news there. We also know that the list that's coming out during today's board meeting, that is not the final list of schools that are closing. It's just a suggestion to the board. Of course, parents will get their say. There will be some community meetings as well. The final decision for the list, that comes sometime in November, so we have a little bit of time. We also know the schools that are chosen to close, those won't close until next year, so a little bit more time there as well.
Yeah, still very tough for those parents who hear that decision today that their school is on the list. Thank you, Veronica. I talked with the superintendent about this issue just before school started in Jeffco. She said at these smaller schools, the kids just aren't getting the same opportunities they deserve.
And so if we're able to combine some schools and have a more robust enrollment, then we solve issues like having split grade levels where second and third graders are in a classroom together, where we have part-time enrichment and electives opportunities for students like art, music, PE.
Sadly, though, district leaders have told me that this won't be limited to elementary schools. In the not too distant future, they will have to look at closing some middle and high schools as well.
Yeah. A lot of factors in these decisions. We also talked to the Jeffco Teachers Union, and they hope the district has a plan for teachers and other staff members at the schools that close.
Certainly, if they're serving the students in their buildings now and those students are going to go elsewhere, then those students still need the same teachers and they still need the same paras and they still need the same bus drivers that are getting them to their school now. So our hope is that there is some sort of process in place and they'll work with us in doing that.
A lot of moving parts. In a statement, the Jeffco Teachers Union proposed using the closed school campuses in ways that would help the community, like turning them into community centers or even affordable housing. So here's the school closure timeline. Tonight, the Board of Education will get the list of recommended school closures. And then between now and November, Jeffco will engage the communities affected by the move. And in November, the Board of Education will make its final decision.
Contract for the Denver public school teachers will expire next Wednesday. This is the contract they signed after they went on strike in early 2019. I asked the teachers union if we could see another one.
What are we looking at here over the next few days of negotiations, and what are the chances we could see teachers on the picket lines again?
So we're still continuing the discussions, right? And I think that's the most important thing right now is that we continue those discussions. And we bring fresh ideas, right? We have one of the best economies in the entire country. And it's embarrassing to see that we have such a giant pay gap between our educators.
Tonight is the last round of negotiations for this week, but the two sides will also meet again next Wednesday, which is the day the contract expires. They'll start talks at 9 a.m. that day and go until they reach an agreement. Well, we'll be back in the upper 80s today, and 48 Denver schools still don't have air conditioning. Chalkbeat Colorado reports back in 2020, the number was 55, so they've made some progress. 2020 was also the same year voters approved a nearly $800 million bond for projects, including installing AC in 24 schools. So far, 7 of those schools now have AC. Work is almost finished on 8 campuses. The school district says there have been some delays because of supply chain issues, but AC will be installed at 9 more schools by next summer.
We have some good news for people living in the Marshall Fire burn zone. They can finally start to either rebuild their homes or put their vacant lots on the market. Boulder County has wrapped up its debris removal program. The Public Works Department says the work came in almost $30 million under budget, too. But take a look at the numbers here. More than 103,000 tons of ash and debris hauled to landfills, more than 64,000 tons of brick and concrete recycled, and nearly 2,000 tons of branches, limbs, and other vegetation debris recycled. Water providers from Denver, Aurora, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo are announcing commitments to reduce their use of water from the Colorado River. In a letter to the Bureau of Reclamation, the water providers said that they will focus on several key areas, including developing programs to replace non-functional grass like Aurora just banned for new development, increasing water reuse and recycling programs, and expanding conservation and efficiency programs to accelerate water savings. The Colorado River is in the midst of a 20-year drought. It was a year ago the federal government declared a water shortage, and that triggered mandatory cutbacks.
We want to bring in meteorologist Lisa Hidalgo now. You are always looking at our drought monitor and checking the areas that have improved, but some have gotten worse.
They have. And, you know, we're going to get our most recent map early this morning here, likely within the next hour or so, and we'll be able to update you on Channel 3 here early on. But, yeah, look at the most recent monitor. Worsening conditions up over the northeastern corner of the state where we have severe in orange. Red is extreme to even exceptional drought conditions. These little pockets in through the northern and southern Front Range Mountains where we actually have some drought-free conditions. So we'll see what some of this most recent rainfall has done. What we really need is a good season, a good snow this coming season. Right now, we're looking at sunshine to start, still summer. Out the door this morning, you're going to find 60s. We'll be in the mid to upper 70s here by about 11. Highs are going to be near 90. So it's still going to be warm, but there is a better chance for some rain. Jason, later today, we'll take a closer look at the timing and where we could see some heavier showers coming up.
Really good chance of stop and go traffic developing in those usual spots. One of them is here, I-25, coming all the way down through 84th Avenue. Here's 88th. There's the Thornton Parkway right there. So you see the headlights of the folks going on. It's just that merge here at the Thornton Parkway and this merge here at 84th, and these folks can keep going. They don't have to get over early. They can actually keep going. It's a collector distributor ramp, goes all the way down to Highway 36, and then that hill climb too. That's why it slows down every day right here, about 25 minutes to downtown.
President Trump's documents found at Mar-a-Lago will be front and center today, the deadline for the Justice Department as news organizations push for a full release.
First of its kind ban is in the works in California, the kind of cars lawmakers want off the roads.
And we speak with the owner of one of the most famous Twitter accounts in sports, Old Takes Expose, and he recounts some of the worst opinions and reports ever posted about Denver sports.